What's happening, fellas? It's your boy Hardcorn, back with more of that Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2005. We're facing off against Ben Hogan today. One of the greatest players of the game for sure. Inventor of the modern, of pretty much practicing your swing in general. His swing theory, and also the way he just swings in general, is just so incredibly fantastic that he still remains to this day one of the most important people in golf. Not only does he swing very well, he plays incredibly well too. It's in part as well due to his incredible swinging ability. Because I think he said once, if you learn how to swing the ball, if you learn how to swing your clubs, you'll be able to shoot pretty much like what, under 70? Something like that. And he proves to me to be the most, not only competitive, but the most difficult. He stays with me and actually takes points off of me at one point. It was a very tough fight, and I like that. It's a testament to him, because he is an absolute fighter. Because it's him and Tiger Woods are the only people to get a triple crown in golf. I think that's pretty true. Because the Triple Crown is winning, I think three tournaments in one season, and he did it. The only other person I think is Woods that's done it, and it's an incredible feat to manage, even back then. And there we go. I hit it into the rough because I was really hoping not to hit it into that tree at all. But Ben Hogan's striking and ball control are legendary. Like he thinks about the place he wants it to go, and it's gonna go there. He's obsessive about practice, and he's really there to make sure, like, you get your swing down and you do it right. Because when you get it right finally, after all that sort of practice and theory and experimentation, you'll be able to finally hit it like he does, and just think about where you want to put the ball and put it there. No ifs, ands, buts about it. See, I'm not even good enough as him yet either. Like, I've got to really put my nose to the grindstone and actually start thinking really hard about where I want it to go. Him, it's no problem. He was one of the first people to really put yardage to clubs. Well, he can put the yardage to clubs because he managed to balance it around him, his abilities, and the way he swings the clubs. So it's a matter of thinking about, okay, I'm gonna put a 9-iron here, and I don't want to hit it very far. I want to hit it up. That's how my swing works. Because that's what the most memorable thing about him, at least in the modern memory, is. Because it's not only his golf clubs, but it's his the legacy of his golf clubs, but also the legacy of learning and teaching how to swing the club, how to hold it, how to stand, how to strike. It's just a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of good literature from him, a lot of good interviews. Everybody, still to this day is discussing, how does his swing work? How did he do it? Obviously, they didn't have very, good high-speed cameras back then, or even if they did, they're not going to put them on golf, because they're super duper expensive. So we don't get very good footage of Mr. Hogan swinging the club, because, obviously after a certain point, the camera is not fast enough to capture that last quarter of a second before striking the ball, so we can't really see how his elbows, knees, and how the club is positioned in his wrist. It's unfortunate, but that's an occurrence of the times. There's some really good literature out there, and also some videos discussing how his swing works. I remember seeing one the other day about, how his swing is set up, like where like it's discovered, you know, he said at some point in the past that it's all on his right knee and how he positions it when he's making the swing itself, because there's a lot to swing theory, and also he talked about his elbow too. The guy did, at least, because there's stuff like, you know, when you're holding the club and it's pointing towards your body, it creates a line that you need to, like, that goes through you up and above. So you need to essentially keep your hands and elbow around that line. Like, your elbow obviously will make a wave and curve around the line itself, but when it finally comes down the end after your downswing, on your downswing, that elbow, that has to be straight dead on, damn near nearly back on the swing plane, parallel to it. It's an interesting thing to think about. You can get Ben Hogan's swing in this game, and I'll probably change it after this one to it, because it's a really good swing. It has a really high amount of power. It has like distance control. It has it's like power boost and driving accuracy. So it's a really good swing in general. I don't remember who I use on this one for in terms of the swing, but it's I think I changed it to Ballesteros, or I still use the custom one. Either way, at the end of the day, all that matters is the stats. Now, I don't remember how much of a putter that Hogan was, but he's obviously good enough to win him the tournaments, so it's, you know, he's not terrible. That's going to be interesting when we finally get to Jack Nicklaus, because Jack is an incredible player. He's still alive today. He's very, very, very good. One of the best finishers in the game itself. I watched one of the Shell's Wonderful Little Golf the other day with it was him versus Arnold Palmer, two lifelong rivals. Talking about Jack Nicklaus on a Ben Hogan video. But they're two lifelong rivals, and they obviously know how to play their golf in their old age. Palmer lost, and I could really feel it. He was getting I could really see that he was starting to get up there in age in '94. He was still hitting real good though, really, really good. Though his percentage of getting onto the fairway was not so great. It was a sight to behold. And Jack also was like absolutely just reaming him. On the 18th, he managed, like, he's at the bottom of a hill to get back up on the green, because the fringes on the green itself were very young and still dormant, so you could actually just putt from the bottom and do that. He just goes and gets like a freaking 40-foot putt, and it's like, it's absolutely insane. I couldn't even believe it. But he going like pog champing like nobody's business. Absolutely crazy. Even back from '94. Even when he was like, what, I think it's 70s? No, he's not in his 70s. He's in the 80s now. He's probably in like his 60s then, or his 50s. Even then, it's still an incredible shot. When other players would talk about, you know, Ben Hogan, they're all like, yeah, he does a good job. They all learn something from him, because his technique and theory persist. Because it's all about, you know, stuff like like he's got his 5 lessons that everybody likes to go off of. They're really, really important. He's got stuff like the fundamentals. Like, you're gonna underestimate yourself, and always like people who start off put too much emphasis on their long game. They want to hit the ball. They want to absolutely freaking destroy it. But the thing is, it's all in the swing. You've got to get out of this destruction mindset and smacking for distance. And you have to get down to the fundamentals and understand that your swing is probably the most important thing you can do in terms of playing golf. because it's like the activity you're doing 80% of the time. Like if your swing's correct and you can repeat it, you're consistent, you can do well with it, you can shoot in the 70s. Any person out there playing golf could swing and break 80. But it takes tons of trial and error. You gotta experiment. You gotta learn what works for you. And his theories hold. They still do today, and they can take tons of pressure. That's how you know it's good. But it's still theory. That means it can be proven wrong. Gripping is also extremely important. When we all learn how to play golf, you learn stuff about, like, everybody knows, like, you're gonna hold the club and smack the ball as hard as you can. But, you miss out on the grip. Because, when you play with a good grip, anyone can do it. There's a little, like, not tricks, but you do stuff like where you put your finger in, how you hold your thumb, where you put your thumb on the club, your positioning of the ball of your hand in relative to the side of the club, all that sort of stuff. And of course, there's always the stance and posture portion, which people miss out on a lot. Because I can put my foot, anywhere really. But the thing is, I'm going to lose my balance if I don't think about it. I'm going to end up hooking or slicing like nobody's business. When you hook and slice like that because you lost your balance, you better hope you're as charming and as charismatic as Arnold Palmer. Because it's super embarrassing when it happens. Because when you lose your balance like that, that means you are getting kind of pissed and you are smashing the shit out of that ball. And that is no way to act on the golf course, and that also means you're gonna start losing. He had various sorts of talking about, where do you put your foot in terms of what kind of club you're using. Like with a driver, you're going to need to make that big old power triangle, so your foot needs to be way far back. But when you use various types of irons, like, a long iron or medium iron, you can shore up your foot location. Bring it closer and closer and closer together, almost like you're putting. Because you obviously want some power behind you, but you don't want to, turn yourself into a lollipop and put your feet together when you're using the driver, because you're going to knock yourself over. Ooh, and you're also not going to get a lot of power behind yourself. Like, your stance should be you should align your feet to the target along with your knees and shoulders. Keep your feet shoulder width apart. And your front foot should be open towards the target and the back foot perpendicular to it. So essentially you got a 45er on your left and a 90 on your right. So it looks like you're almost doing a sort of square dance sort of stuff, like you're getting kind of cockeyed with it, but it's okay. But as you increase in the amount of clubbage you're using, like I said earlier, you're going to need to widen your stance. You're essentially going to look like freaking CIA from The Dark Knight Rises, with that power stance you got going on. Don't get too crazy with it, because you're also going to then you'll have too much power and you won't be able to control it. There's also the hip turn as well when you're doing your backswing, and then you're turning on your hips when you're going on the downswing as well. That matters too, because you can't stiffen up there, or else because it's all in trying to get that end of the club to absolutely pummel the end of it. So your entire body needs to work together. It's okay if you're gonna hit the I want to call it the green, but hit the practice pad on the ground with the club. It can take it. But I know you can't take the loss of not being able to do such a thing, but it's alright. This hole, however, is when I got really, really cocky on, and he manages to take a point off me. Right there. I'm talking all about how great his swing is, and he just managed to hit in the sand like that, and then comes back and hits it 15 feet to the pin. So I'm like, okay, I don't need to adjust anything. I'm gonna like, okay, there's a 100%. Don't gotta worry about it. I'm just gonna hit it. I'm gonna give it a little bit of power to make sure it gets over there. Well, I don't think I gave it any power at all. It's a naked hit, and I managed to sail it off into the distance and put it in the water. Absolutely frustrating. So he's already got me there. Gotta try and hit it over the sand, hit it over the pin. Well, I ended up hitting it over the pin for 27 feet, so it's an absolute shit show of a placement. Can't do that. Then you look at his swing right here. His elbows are right there against his chest, against his body. Point your elbows at your hip bones. Keep them there. Keep them close to your body, at least when you're training it at that point. Obviously, when you're swinging a driver, you can't put it against your body. You're gonna have no power. So you gotta keep it there. Align your elbows to the proper points of your body. If you got a recessed hip, it's really easy to see how that's gonna work because it'll line up to where regularly your hip lies, and you can see it on the contour of your body when it happens. It's a good thing to like take your shirt off when you do that sort of stuff, so you can see how your muscles are reacting, and also where your arms are going in proportion to your chest. That's at least what I've been able to garner from reading about his stuff. And of course, bend your knees. Don't keep them straight. Like you got a little bend going on, like you're almost about to sit down, but not exactly. Like you're standing over a chair and you got an excited moment, you're popping off the chair. It's about that little sort of like, knee bend, slight bent over, and like looking and going like, whoa, something like that. Then you have your backswing part, the part where you're bringing up that club, hiking it up, getting ready to send it to the moon. You got the order of your movement should be, at least what he would go off of is his hands to your arms, to your shoulders, and to your hips. Like you don't start off by moving your arms first. You start you move your hands, then your arms like a half a second later, and your shoulders get into the mix, and then you start moving your hips back, like you're really gonna start getting in there and start beating the hell out of that ball. And when you're finally at the end of your backswing, your chin should be right there at the top of your left shoulder, or right there at the top of your left shoulder, because you obviously need to be looking at the ball, because if you look away from it and look at your swing, you're not going to be able to, your swing is going to get totally messed up. And then comes the tough part, because when you haven't been doing this sort of thing, your muscles aren't trained for it, so you have to really restrain your hips from moving. And when you're coming back down, you're holding the club up there, you're doing all that, you gotta hold your hips there with all of your core muscles, and then you go, because that's the part that it comes right back, because it's got the tension inside there. So when you finally contract it, because when you're finally contracting, it's the first thing that's gonna be coming back down. because it's relaxing and bringing in the muscles of your body, which will make everything else follow suit. So then you start relaxing, bringing back down bring down your shoulder, then your arms, and then quickly behind it is your hands, and all the way at the end is the end of the club. Because a lot of the swing itself, just like in baseball, is in transferring your weight and rotating your hips. So if you've got, baseball experience, you can go over there and start hitting the ball like that. It's very good stuff. This is a great hole because, I'm right there. Hogan is right behind me in terms of shot. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to change the ball in stance, put barely any power on it. I barely get onto the green. No, I don't get even on the green. I'm right there at the edge of it. If it was any steeper, I would have rolled off and lost the hole. And then Hogan, like the wonderful man he is, he gets it right there on the green. No problem. Now I gotta come over here and start thinking about what I'm gonna do. It's like I can't chip that little angle, that little divot right there is way too high. So I've gotta plan my pitch out. Try to roll it, and then it freaking lips the cup. Like, oh my god, that would have been a fantastic eagle. No, that wouldn't have been an eagle. That would have been a nice birdie. Then he goes and scores a bogey on this one, which made me feel good about myself. But no, I got a par out of this one and hold my lead. It was not easy. It was not easy at all. But back on the swinging. Because you got at the impact of the ball, you got your left hand facing towards your target. Raise up your, on your left hand, look at your wrist bone. Make sure it's raised up. Raised, pointing to the target. Because when you got your left hand facing the target, your wrist bone's gonna do it as well. So don't think about the back of your hand, think about where your wrist is, and then point it towards where you're going. Lee Trevino's really the only person who's ever actually gotten even close to the Hogans Swing. It's like Hogan made it all his own, and everybody's been trying to copy him for the last 60 something years. And of course, don't straighten up your arm. Don't straighten up your right arm. Keep it a little bit bent. And of course, these lessons are incredible fundamentals to the game itself. The 5 lessons is the book that they're in, and it's consistently one of the best-selling books on golf swinging ever, because it's so incredibly good. It's got it's chock full of good stuff, and it gets you thinking about not only just the swing of your swing, how you do things, but also what a good swing is supposed to be. You can practice that yourself. That is evident of someone who has obviously played the game at such an incredibly high level and thinks not only just beyond the game, but also beyond, further beyond what his long-standing reach is going to be. I mean, he was obviously thinking of that because the year he won his Triple Crown, god damn, it's a good chip. I was seriously doubting he was going to make that. The year he wins his Triple Crown, he also starts the Ben Hogan Golf Company, and it's still going to this day. He's absolutely incredible. They've had several movies made about him, and I can see why. This man is an absolute dynamo. Well, of course, when talking about Ben Hogan, you can't talk about him without talking about his life-threatening car accident he had when head-on collision with a bus. He saved his wife by throwing his body over her lap, and then, but it obviously critically injured himself. And of course, you know, being like, I think the crash happened in like 50-something, so they didn't have all the nice safety features of a real modern car. So he left the accident alive but critically injured, but now he was a much weaker man. Like, on the PGA Tour, on the PGA Championship, you have to play like a 36 hole a day, and he could just get through 18. He could just only get through 18 without starting to get really exhausted, and I don't blame him. Getting through 18 holes normally is an exhaustive feat if you're really trying hard and getting sweaty. And also that crash, you know, obviously affected the muscles in his body, but it also hurt his eye, his left eye. So his depth perception is a little bit wonky. But that did not stop him. No. That absolutely did not stop that absolute machine of a man. Look, there it is. We get to see under the world because the camera got stuck on something. This is it. This is for the victory. I'm playing from the fringes, so I want to make sure I've got it. Get that tiger vision going. And that's it. We can play that wonderful round with the Mr. Ben Hogan, the greatest golf striker and golf swinger the game has ever known. We get Legend Compilation #1 out of that. Truly an unforgettable experience. Posting videos 6 days a week, guys. So come on over at 5 o'clock every day and nearly every day and check them out. And always, I want to thank you guys for showing up, watching the video, leaving your likes and comments. I love that stuff. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.